All right, ready? Hello.
All right. Welcome.
Yo! Whoop! Yo, it's the Parental Support Podcast. We're back with another episode.
Podcast number 6 or 7 or one of the two.
It's number 6.
Yes, number 6.
If you've been
I'm
jumping,
Jared Gonzalez.
yes, I'm Daniel. I don't know why you said your entire name.
Today. We got a new member today, and his name is
Josh Worth.
Oh yeah.
Oh snap! Okay,
we're going up, boys. We're going up. All right.
7 views per video. Let's do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we don't really have a go-to topic today, but we're just gonna talk. We're gonna talk about what's going on with the coronavirus and kind of that how it reflects the Bible and everything, and also we're gonna talk about why bad things happen to good people. So we're gonna go from there, and we're just gonna see where it goes. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. I thought you were gonna continue.
You gotta give me a cue, Jared. You can't just be like, Okay, so Jared. Okay, Jared. Let me ask you. Okay, why do you think that bad things happen to good people?
Well, to be honest, everyone in this world has sin. So we're not all good. We're not perfect at all. So I think, if you look at saints, a whole bunch of bad stuff happened to them.
Yes.
But they were still really, really good.
Yes.
They still held on to the love of God, and they still went forward. For crying out loud, look at the book of Job.
Yes.
So many bad things happened to this good man.
Yes, my dude lost everything. Dude, he got giant pimples on his body. He lost his family and all of his cows. That's messed up.
And his business.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And his business.
That's messed up.
Yeah, he got screwed over.
But what's important? But the important thing is what you do with it. So a lot of these saints, they offer it up to God and to the pain that Jesus went through on the cross. So I get bad migraines, Jared, and I'm sure you know this because I almost I did pass out on your bathroom floor, and I threw up into your bathroom toilet. So it was bad. I get bad migraines. And most of the time, I'm going to be straight up with you, Jared. I'm like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
But, and it's legit. It's like, why is this happening? But the important thing that I have to remember in that situation is that I just dropped something. I should give it up to God, and I should ask to use this suffering for the betterment of others and for the betterment of myself. He's not going to give us anything that we can't handle. And in that situation, what I could do is put it I could connect it with Jesus's suffering from the crown of thorns, which were these giant 3 to 6 long inch I forgot thorns that went into his scalp, and it wasn't like this sombrero kind of thing. It was like an actual like bowl over his head that like pierced his ears and his eyebrows, and he couldn't see from all the blood rushing from his scalp. So basically going from that, Jared, do you have any examples of how you could use that suffering for your betterment?
Well, let's think about this. The most perfect human being, which was Jesus, he went through the utmost suffering that we can ever imagine. He was killed by the Romans. They didn't care. They really just went at him and just kind of destroyed him, and they just didn't care. And a God, Jesus didn't want to go through that. Jesus really, we've talked about it in this podcast, Jesus didn't want to go through that.
Yeah.
Why would he? He was kind of feeling a little bit about it, which I think all of us, if God told us straight up, in a few years you're gonna be killed
you're gonna be
pretty
killed
bad,
horribly.
Yeah. All of us are gonna be like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. But he still went through it. So us as human beings, we see all these people, we see all these horrible things like, children being killed by cancer, or older adults being killed by cancer, or just normal, just innocent people being killed by other people. And you got to think to yourself, why is this happening? Why is there multiple hurricanes, earthquakes, all these things that are causing havoc? We're not bad people. That's what you think to yourself. We're not bad people. Why is this all happening? But you got to learn, as there's a reason for everything. There's a lesson to everything, and God's teaching us something. I think I don't know if you noticed, but after every single giant disaster, us as human beings have gotten better.
Yes.
So, even though 9/11 was absolutely horrible, the day after 9/11, 9/12, everyone was helping out each other. It was like the most perfect place.
Wow.
Even though we went through this horrible disaster. There was no fighting. There was no nothing. At that point, we were just people.
It was a group effort trying to go against. I mean, it helped us get ready for the future and other possible terrorist attacks, which did end up happening. But it helped us be more aware of that possibility, because beforehand, nobody wanted to mess with us on our own home turf. So yeah, good points there, Jared. Josh, you have anything?
Thank you.
So far, no. No, but I do got one thing though.
Okay.
One thing.
Okay.
I like to think of it as perseverance. To be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
No matter how people God throws at us, some people say God throws a stone at us and like all these bad things happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we always keep coming out, and just like what Jared said, we always grow to be stronger with each other.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that statement.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's important to recognize that, because sometimes we can fall into despair and to sorrow from all of this different stuff that we have to face on a daily basis. And in the Our Father, we tell God that His will to be done. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So even if you have a bad day, a horrible day, I mean, you should still be thankful that it was God's will for that to happen. I know I had watched a video, and it was about this ISIS fighter that converted to Christianity and became a missionary in the Middle East, and these people started recognizing that they were going after him, and they started going after him and whatever. One day, it wasn't a chainsaw, but it was more for cutting wood. I don't know, like ones you have on a table, and something happened, it popped out, and instead of cutting his throat, because it was a couple inches off and away from his throat, it cut his face instead, and it let him realize that if Jesus wants you, well, not if Jesus wants you, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go, but if Jesus decides that it's not your time to go, it's not your time to go. So again, it's just reestablishing that fact that everything is in God's hands, and no matter what evil and whatever comes our way, it's all in His domain of command, because at the end of the day, He created the universe and everything in it, and He's constantly moving everything, and so
Yeah.
Just to know that fact that we're being helped by this powerful being is important to remember throughout the day. So
Yeah, of course. Obviously,
Yeah.
well, I don't know the little boy's name, but with the movie that was based on it, when when the little boy died,
yeah. Heaven is for real.
he could have gone. Yeah, heaven is for real. He could have died right there. He could have.
Yeah.
But instead, Jesus said, "It's not your time. It's not your time," and sent him back.
Yeah.
He's still alive, and he saw Jesus. Obviously, if you want to show them the picture.
Oh yeah, and there's been the amount of people He's spoken to about what His experience has been, and what I find super cool is that a 7-year-old girl, 7-year-old girl, actually painted a portrait of Jesus that was, passed around. She had it stolen from her, and she eventually got it back like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But when the kid that you were talking about actually saw the portrait, he basically said that, that's the one that's the man that I saw. So I thought it was pretty cool. Plus, it connects with the Shroud of Turin and all of that. I mean, it just goes on and on how impressive all of this circulates and whatnot. I'm sending it to the chat so you guys can see it.
No, it's so spot on though. It matches
And
up
wait,
right
what did you say it
next
was called again?
The
Shroud of Turin.
Well, which one?
Right
The
here.
portrait or the second one?
This one right here.
Which one? We can't see what.
The one that you just sent?
Oh,
yeah,
the
that's the Shroud
Shroud.
of Turin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one has.
That's
they
that's
can't. Yeah.
You know when Jesus died, Josh?
Yeah.
When they put the cloth over him?
Yeah, the cloth, yeah.
When he was resurrected, the amount of radiation, well, we don't actually know what.
Yeah, they suspect like an extreme light source projected off of whoever that person was, and it stained that cloth. So in negative photos, you could see this picture right here. So like the normal,
Really?
yeah. So the normal picture. Oh, let me get a side by side. It's better like that. So the side by side is actually the one without the negative lighting is the one on the left, but on the right, you could see all the blood and you can see the detail and everything. The piece of cloth is like 6 feet long, like 6'3". Around that size, and they've made 3D models.
I didn't know that. It was 6'3".
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Jesus was 6'3".
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Wait,
man.
he was.
I don't know. The cloth
Jesus
is
was 6'3".
I don't know. The cloth is
You
around
serious?
that size. From what?
Wow.
Look, I mean, look at it. Look at it.
Yeah. Show that. Yeah. Show the whole thing. Show the whole thing.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Wait, hold up, I want to see. What the?
It's big. It's pretty big. Wait, what? I'm trying to find like a full picture in negative.
No, and if you see the actual like full thing, you can see where he was
Yeah, it was
where
a
the nails went in.
Yeah, it was a
Which was
crucified.
the God's notch. It was the God's notch and stuff, which makes sense because they couldn't put it in his hands, because if they would have put the nail in his hands, it would have ripped right off.
Yeah, he would have ripped out from the amount of weight and the pressure. And
Josh, that's the actual picture.
and the man has a stab wound on his side, and I mean, we can talk about the Passion again if you want to do that this episode, because this all connects with the Passion and all of that.
Josh, have you ever watched The Passion?
The Passion.
No,
of
I
the
have not.
Christ.
All right. Well, The Passion of Christ, it's pretty much tells the story of what happened to him during that whole before the crucifix, and a little bit after the crucifix.
So like right after the Last Supper, if you know what. Do you know what the Last Supper?
Oh yeah, right after.
So like right after that until like his resurrection, that's like the time frame.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay, I see.
so essentially that movie is rated R. They really try to bring out how gruesome the Romans were during that time
Right.
period, because they were trained to torture people. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
like,
Yeah.
So basically the Pharisees took him in for blasphemy because he kept on saying that he was the Son of God, and when they took him in, they took him to this guy called Pontius Pilate, and he basically looked over that area called Jerusalem, and he watched over that people for the Roman Empire. And Pontius Pilate, he didn't really know what to do with him, so he sent him to the Jewish king, quote unquote Jewish king, King Herod, and there he made fun of him. And over that entire course of time that I talked about, he was being like tortured and like punched and spit on, and no sleep, no food, no water. So he goes back to Pontius Pilate. The crowd is screaming at him to do something. He ends up scourging him, which is basically whipping. And on the whips, they have these tiny balls. And inside those balls are sheep bone and shells and these different material that would basically rip out flesh. So whenever they whipped him, it would get stuck into his back or wherever they were whipping him,
Yeah.
And it would basically hold on there, and it would pull back, and that entire portion would be ripped out. And most people didn't survive because of blood loss and basically trauma to the body. So it just shows like how tough Jesus was and his stature and all of that. So he basically went through that. They basically kept on torturing him, kicking him in the genitals, spitting on him, hitting him. The crown of thorns come by, and some people will say that it wasn't like the around the forehead and the back. It was actually this giant crown that they made that would pierce the top of his skull. And the skull is actually it bleeds super easily. So, like, he would be blinded by his own blood, and he wouldn't be able to see. He would have to see through the thorns going through his eyebrows and through his ears and through his scalp. And people, kicking him in the genitals. He didn't know where the next hit is going to come from. They clothed him in purple, and his clothing would get stuck to his open wounds like a Band-Aid. So, it's already getting stuck to his wounds. Eventually, they sentence him to crucifixion, death by crucifixion. So he walks all the way to to Calvary, which is basically a garbage dump where they would crucify people. On like so people could see. So there's rats and there's garbage all over the place. Some say that he didn't have to carry the entire two beams, so like the vertical and horizontal one. So it wasn't but at the same time, he would have had to carry the horizontal one, which is in of itself is 300 pounds.
Yes, I was about to say that the whole cross. The whole cross weighed 300 pounds. The cross beam didn't weigh 300 pounds, but it weighed 100 pounds.
Okay.
Plus, his body was already
it was already beaten destroyed. Up and all of that.
So those 100 pounds probably felt like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and he was walking up a mountain.
Yeah, mountain.
He was already beat.
Yeah, being whipped in the back, and then plus his hands were tied to the beam, so whenever he fell on his face, and then people kicking him and whatever. And
he fell 3 times, right?
Yeah, he fell 3 times, but probably more, but like significantly, it's like the significant ones were probably 3 times.
Yeah.
Going up the mountain to Calvary, getting nails. Getting nails pounded into his hands, into his wrists, into his feet,
and then his ankles.
Yeah, into his ankles, and at the same time, I listened to a priest, and he mentioned it. Like I said before, the tunic that he was wearing is completely connected to all his open wounds, so they become scabs, and whenever they had to tear off his clothing, so he's completely naked on the cross. Yeah. So they reopened a bunch of wounds, and he had to crawl onto the cross while he's getting hit and stuff. He gets crucified, and you die by asphyxiation, so you die from lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
And he's sitting up there, and every time he falls forward, he can't breathe, so he's suffocating himself. And he's using whatever strength he has left to stand himself up to breathe. And this is a 33-year-old big Jewish man, and he's completely naked, which is completely embarrassing because you're in front of your mom, one of your disciples, and a bunch of people who have been following you this entire time. Yeah. So he's on there.
Some people that actually also hate you.
Yeah.
A lot of people hated him too. So it's like that must have been he had to be not only physically strong, but mentally and spiritually. Because a person that wasn't mentally or spiritually and was only physically strong, they couldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, and plus,
it's so demoralizing, man.
Yeah.
It's so demoralizing.
Plus, they mocked him with the King of the Jews on top of the cross, which is the INRI sign that's usually on top of the crosses that we see, and he was basically offering. He was forgiving people while he was on the cross.
Yeah.
And he talks to one of the thieves that basically repents, and he tells him that he's going to go up, he's going to be in paradise by the end of today. He dies, everything starts shaking, everything, and the Roman guards have to break the other two thieves and their legs, so they die from suffocating like a lot more faster. And yeah, that's the entire process of, and plus not everyone had tombs back then, so they would throw them in dumps. There would just be like a hole full of crucified people.
Yeah.
So.
No, but actually, let's show them the picture of what used to be the tomb.
Yeah.
They kind of added a whole bunch of flowers now. So now let me find it.
Tomb of
Jesus.
And what's interesting is that, for 2,000 years, this tomb has been known for, for holding the body of Jesus, and it's empty. Well, you can go to, like, Muhammad and all these different burial sites, and they'll still be there 6 feet under the ground or wherever they're at. So, that's another thing about the Catholic Church, that's been around for 2,000 years and 2,020 years, and the tradition and the teachings and all of that has gotten stronger over the years and everything. So yeah, when you really look at the passion and all that suffering that Jesus had to go through, it really puts into perspective like our tiny things.
Yeah, it really shows, because like us, obviously we live in a first world country, but we get stressed over like school.
Yeah.
Or like if this girl likes me.
Or we run out of toilet paper.
Or does my friend like me still? Like all that dumb stuff, and it's like we're so spoiled.
Yeah.
If you really think about it,
are.
we really are, and we're spoiled. But then you also look at the other countries that are like third world countries. Like look at Africa.
Yeah.
Those people are living not the best conditions.
They're living super humble lives, and yet the Christians there, the Catholics there, are like super happy, and they're
happy. They're loving life. They're living life to the fullest, while we're over here complaining about the smallest things, and it shows.
Right.
It shows. And you know what? It is what it is. We've grown up in this world. We've grown up in this first world country, and it is what it is. We can't do anything about that. But we also got to learn how to be more humble and understand other people, and understand the differences between people, because we have to stop criticizing others. And, we have to learn to respect others, because Jesus loved everyone. Maybe Jesus might have not agreed, because there's for sure examples in the Bible that he didn't agree with others, but he still loved them. He still respected them, and that's what we have to do the same. We have to do the same thing to others. So
yeah, it's not like a guilt trip kind of thing.
No, of course not.
Like this entire thing. Like some people might say that like we shouldn't focus on this, but he went through all of this. He was basically abandoned by all of his close friends and denied and given up to the slaughter. And it's not to be like, we're horrible, because that's the wrong state of mind to have. We should be focusing on being more grateful for this. And it goes into Mass, where how we understand and look at the Mass and the different perspective we have at Mass. Because in China, they have an underground church. And just like when the Christians in Japan were being persecuted, they had an underground church. And how important it is to have Mass and to be aware of what's happening. Because on the altar, when the priest is consecrating the Eucharist, it's actually Jesus on the altar, the resurrected body of Jesus there given to us to have eternal life, which is 10 times better, infinitely better than whatever we have here on earth. So, just being aware of that as well.
All right, but let me ask you this, Danny.
Yes.
Let's say someone from the outside. Let's say someone that maybe is an atheist or is part of another religion, and doesn't really understand the Bible, and doesn't understand the Bible's teachings. What do you have to say like a brief term, what do you have to say about the Bible's teachings? It being very moral and stuff. What do you have to say to these people that don't really believe it?
In the Bible, well, the Bible is a Catholic book, but for Muslims or Jewish people or anyone in general, atheists or whatever it may be, it's just I don't know. It's just, first off, we have to love people, because at the end of the day, we're all created in the image and likeness of God, and we all have the same dignity and respect as everyone else does. And that's why abortion is such a big issue, because every single individual person is created uniquely and completely different from the person next to them. So
Exactly.
when you're talking to individuals regarding different aspects and perspectives of life, what we believe is completely true and true alone. God is the ultimate judge, and he works in ways that we cannot understand, and we don't have a definite answer. And if you have a different interpretation of the Bible, I don't know, you just have to go by a person-to-person basis. You can't just generalize it, because every single person deserves to have that one-on-one conversation to figure out what their perspective is and where their mind is at. I can say, for right now, just people who know about the Catholic Church and know about Jesus and know about everything and still disregard it, then that's a different issue from someone who hasn't ever been introduced in this area. So again, it's a person, and you go off by whoever you're talking to. You can't just generalize it, because then that's that's not being loving towards your fellow neighbor and your fellow brother or sister.
Yeah.
I mean, God is loving enough that he gives every single one of us a guardian angel to help guide us in whatever way he wants us. I mean, if you think about it, God, the creator of the universe, does not need I mean, he puts us in situations for us to help the betterment of other people, but he doesn't need us. He doesn't need us to interfere with his stuff, When stuff is placed in front of us, that's to help us and at the same time help the other person. But he doesn't need us. He includes us into his saving plan. And that's the awesome, that's another cool thing about it too, because we're not excluded from this. Every single time we go to mass, we're helping other people without even realizing it. So I don't know. Yeah.
I don't. Obviously, what the Bible teaches us, obviously, is about loving others, respecting others, also helping others. But I think every person feels this. If you don't feel this, then there's something just wrong. To go help the homeless, or when me and Josh this last summer, we went to an Unleashed camp, and we just did service hours, and even though it was completely draining, sometimes me and Josh did not want to do it because we just were tired. It was long. We were either helping clean some stuff, we were helping pick up some stuff, or we were helping give mail, finding mail for homeless people for 5 hours, and we were tired. Non-stop.
And we didn't have lunch too. Remember that?
Yeah, we didn't have lunch. They forgot to give us lunch, and even after that, even though I was tired, I kind of I felt good about it though.
Yeah.
And it was that good feeling in my heart,
even
though I was a little bit about it, I didn't really want to look through all this mail. I didn't want to pick up all this stuff. I didn't want to clean all this stuff. I ended up doing it, and I felt good.
We are made for others. Yeah. Mother Teresa, she had a saying, and people would ask her, how are you so happy? What's your, way of life? And she always says, she would say, I work in joy. So basically, if you go through joy and you spell it out, J for Jesus, so Jesus first, O for others, so others second, and then Y is for you, and you are third. So working for others is really, that's what we're called to do every single day.
Wow. I've actually never heard something like I've never heard someone break down the word joy before.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was actually really good. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I'm trying to find it in the Bible, but I mean, Jesus's like greatest commandment was to love your neighbor as yourself, or something along those lines. It's just, the golden rule: do unto others what you would want to do.
As you would like to be treated.
Yeah,
it's the most golden rule. It's the most simple.
Because you could be the most Catholic person going to daily mass and doing all of that, and it's good because you're spending time with God. But when you're nasty and mean to other people, what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah. What's the point?
There's no fruit in it.
Yeah.
Also, where is it? I forgot where it's at. But basically, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase it. But Jesus basically says, or John the Baptist, which is like foreshadowing what Jesus is going to do or say. So at the Jordan River, John the Baptist basically says, in chapter 3, verse 7, when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his baptism, he said to them, "You brood vipers, who warned you to flee from the coming wrath? Produce good fruit as evidence of your repentance, and do not presume to say to yourselves, 'We have Abraham as our father,' for I tell you, God can raise up children to Abraham from these stones." Therefore, I'm skipping the beginning of verse 10. No, never mind. "Even now the axe lies at the root of the trees. Therefore every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire." So, and then Jesus goes on to say that, you can tell a tree by the fruit it produces. You can't get, like, grapes from a thorn, like a rose tree. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that type of mindset. And going back to what you're talking about, like other people, like atheists, and interpreting like the Bible and all of that, John the Baptist, I said that weird. When he says that we have Abraham as our father, I tell you, God can raise up children to Abraham from these stones. So he's basically saying it doesn't matter what religion you're in, because we believe that the Catholic Church is like the only religion that will get you to heaven.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's saying don't use that as an excuse to be like all high and mighty.
No, of course.
Because he could make the atheist next to you Catholic and you wouldn't mean anything, So.
No, you gotta, like I said, to bring this up to the people that believe in other things or just don't believe in the Catholic Church. At the end of the day, the Catholic faith is kind of based on morals and what's good and what's bad. It's like that's the most. Obviously, there's more to that, but that's kind of the most basic thing.
And truth, because
it's
God
like,
creates the baseline.
Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah, God creates the baseline for that.
So, and God obviously knows we're not all good. We make so many mistakes. We probably make like hundreds of mistakes in one day, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And he knows it. He knows we're not perfect.
Yeah.
He just knows it. But he also knows that we're not all bad either. We don't have to be. He's giving us that choice.
Our goodness comes from God himself.
Yeah.
We're the ones that make ourselves mad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. There's a priest, his name is Father Larry Richards. He basically went over the entire Passion, and he was basically saying, every time you sin, every time you go against God and whatever truth and whatever rule he put out, you're basically in the crowd of people screaming at Pontius Pilate to crucify Jesus. Yeah. You're basically one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in that crowd 100 times before. Like, I'm not even gonna hide it, but like,
Oh, yeah.
But
I think what, I've even done it before. I'm not gonna act like obviously me and Josh, our school has once a month we have mass, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about Josh, but sometimes I don't want to go to mass. I want to go to mass at 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And plus, everyone there is super, super noisy. No offense to the father. The father's great. If you actually like have a one-on-one conversation with him, it's awesome. But like what he's actually doing, mass, I can't really understand I can't understand a lot that what he's saying. So I really can't take it in. He's a great guy though. I've talked to him one-on-one, but like still, and it's just hard. It's just hard, and I don't want to go. And then people are talking, trash about the mass and everything, and either I go with them because I'm just being dumb that day and I'm not, or I just don't say anything. And I think God wants us to all defend our faith. He's asking us to defend our faith. And I've made plenty of mistakes where I'm just like, I don't want to go to mass. I don't want to do this.
Or
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to deal with something, or you don't have to inconvenience yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like Josh totally gets me, because it's just like,
yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Like everyone in our school, our school's not a bad school. I'm not gonna act like our school's a bad school. It's not. A lot of people in our school are not Catholic. It's a Catholic school, but like I told you, Danny, it is not Catholic at all. It's not even close to the word Catholic. But it's not a bad school. And if you meet the right people in that school, then you're gonna have a pretty good time. If you meet the right people that have similar morals to you, you're gonna be just about all right. Most of my friends, my friends that are also Josh's friends, they all have good morals. They all know good from bad. Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. We're not close to the fact, but we're all right. We're not trying to be bad. None of my friends smoke. None of my friends drink. I don't think we've ever thought about doing it. I don't think we've ever thought about doing drugs either. We don't care for it. And you can kind of call my friends nerds, but you know what? I'll take that term over a guy or a girl that smokes in the bathroom every single class period. So
it smells like Fruit Loops in the bathroom.
Yeah, every single yeah. So I'll take it, because at least my friends are kind of morally right. We're not perfect, but we're trying our best, and that's what the Catholic faith is. Try to be the best person that you can possibly be, and try to even be better. Try to be a better you from yesterday. That's pretty much what the Catholic faith is being. And are we gonna be perfect each day? No. There's not gonna be one day in our whole life that we are perfect, but we can always strive to be better. We can try to be the best person that we can possibly be. And I think that's a message that even non-Catholic people try to say. Be you, be the best you, be kind to others. But that all came from the Bible. That all came from Jesus.
Yeah.
So it all leads back to Jesus. Science complements the Catholic faith so much.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it really does.
So like, it all leads back to one faith, one person, and that's Jesus, and that's God.
Yeah, it really it just boils down for us in first world countries. Yeah. And in our situation is whether or not we want to go through with it.
Exactly.
Because, but you have anything to say, Josh, or like?
No, I definitely agree with the term what Jared's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what people need to do, and this goes for our school too, due to all the drama, but like they need to learn to forgive others.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like that's probably the biggest term I can like urge on right now. It's just forgiveness. Like just like the stupid things that happen in school, like that people like Jared and I go through all this drama at school.
Yes, we do.
But like all this drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Jared and I both we lost friends. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that like the best thing we can probably do is just forgive them and not leave them out like in the dust. And that's pretty much what Jesus did for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
Spot on.
Because I mean, if you really do think about it, the right thing for God to have done is completely left us in the dust because we basically abandoned him. But instead of that, he sent Jesus down here to save us. For no reason in particular except for the fact that, he created us to know, love, and to be with him. So.
And look, isn't it okay? Let me ask you this: before Jesus came down from heaven, the world back then was kind of really bad. They were just killing people left and right. They had no morals. Everything was about them. And I don't know about you,
I mean,
but I'm
if-
looking at the modern world
Yeah.
right now, and it looks a
I was
lot
about
like
to
back
say
then,
that.
bro.
I was about to say
Yeah.
that. If you look at a bunch of the different countries in the Middle East and the different culture and whatever,
Yeah.
the Catholic Church has really helped establish the civil, culture. You have St. Patrick going to Ireland, where a bunch of barbarians are killing, a bunch of people, and in Japan, where they're decapitating Japanese Catholics because they don't want they don't want them to, participate in that religion, But the Catholics come around and they establish these rules and these guidelines for people to live their lives, and it changes people for the better. And
Yeah.
and yeah,
No, like obviously, like I said, if you look at the modern world, it's really bad. It's
Yeah.
really bad right now. No one has any morals, and you talk to some people, and you're just like, what? You're like,
Yeah.
you're just
What the hell just
confused.
yeah,
Exactly. You're just confused by what they just told you, and it's just like you have to take a step back and you have to realize like what's going on here.
yeah.
Because I'm really thinking it really started with this decade, because I don't remember all this stuff in the early 2000s. Maybe I'm wrong. I was younger. Obviously, I was a baby, but I didn't hear anything about that, and my parents for sure didn't tell me anything about that. But once the internet and social media came along, it flipped the script, bro. It flipped the script really, really
Oh,
hard.
yeah.
And it's social media and the internet. It's a really, really bad thing, but it also brings some good to it. But it also has a lot of negatives.
Yeah.
And a lot of negatives are people can be whoever they want on a computer, on a phone. It doesn't matter, and that leads to pedophiles. That leads to murderers. That leads to people, just being absolutely just rude and just mean to other people for no absolute reason. And
And the
Is-
feeling of isolation and
exactly.
and like
Isolation.
comparing
Be
and
different from everybody else.
yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, I work with Josh since we don't really know each other. I work for a police
Yeah.
department up in I can't say it. It's going to go out to the world.
you can say
I work for a police department, and basically I'm a student trainee, and I help with different stuff. And they had an active shooter conference, so they basically went over all the
Wow.
different stuff that are going through these kids' heads, and a lot of them are, some of them can range from a completely normal life, and they're just messed up, to a completely messed up life where the parents are found nowhere and everyone's messed up inside the family. There's different diseases that have been carried on throughout the family, throughout generations. And, a lot of them are just depressed and suicidal when they're out, trying to commit these heinous crimes. And I was thinking to myself, because a lot of these school shootings started to happen about 60, 70 years ago. And I was thinking it over while I was there, and I kind of made the connection between the passing of Roe v. Wade and these acts of violence. I mean, it's not to say that there wasn't anything beforehand, because you clearly have like World War I, World War II, and all of that happening throughout the world, the Vietnam War. But the Roe v. Wade set a precedent for lack of respect for human life and dignity, and the breaking up of the family, where one person doesn't care for another person across the street or in another part of the country. That state of mind that changes people, and it basically, it's like whatever in people's minds. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just been a long time coming, It hasn't just come out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
And I'm gonna say this really quick. Obviously, I'm, Danny's pro-life, and obviously Josh. Our argument is not about us not caring about the woman's body, but the baby isn't that woman's body. It's a completely
Exactly.
different human being.
Yeah.
And we care for the woman. That's why we want the baby to be born.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different organizations out there in the Catholic Church and in other places that they can go, and if they can't, they can't handle a kid right now, adoption is an option. But that's
Adoption is an option.
but at the same time, you can't just use adoption as a handicap. or like
Yeah, of
like a Cain for your issue, because then we're just gonna have an overflow of adoption, you know. And
Yeah.
adoption isn't bad, but it's better to have an organized you know, an organized good family for that kid to grow up in, because, you know.
Yes, that's 100%, and that's 100%. And the thing is like you said, we don't want like we don't want like an adoption to be like an kind of an over option. But then people would say to that, that's why there's abortion. That's what they would say to that.
But at the same time, that's not legit. That's not legit
Exactly.
either.
Exactly, and that's why I think if we go back to the Bible, God, Gabriel came down to Mary, was like, hey, God's gonna put a baby into you. You're like 16, 15 years old,
Hmm.
and you know he's about to put the Son of God into you. Mary could have been like, she was kind of perfect, but she is perfect.
I mean,
but
Mary's a normal.
She could have been like,
She's a normal. She could have said no.
she could have said no. She could have been like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm 15 years old. You know, I'm not even married yet. And then Joseph finds out that she's pregnant, and he's thinking to himself, whoa.
Hold up here.
I thought we were gonna get married. I thought that was gonna happen. And then, I forget what angel came down to him.
They don't mention it was just an angel in a dream.
All right.
He just had a lot
But
of dreams. Yeah.
The angel came to him in the dream and was like, yo, she's not lying. Like, that's the Son of God. And him, like,
And
she's
so
telling
on
the
and so
truth.
forth.
She's still a virgin. You know, she's still the Mary that you absolutely love. She hasn't done anything wrong. And then Joseph kind of he helped raise his child.
Yeah,
which was Jesus.
the earthly
And-
father to God.
Yeah, and they could have said no. You know, they both could have said no. They both could have abandoned this kind of revolutionary mission. Even though God had probably multiple ways for this to go, he knew that this was the right way. And like now we have Roe v. Wade that gives the option to women to kind of just take away that
That stress.
So-
Or the
not
consequences,
stress,
the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't.
but like
I mean, having trust and faith in God is another thing, but like it's just a lot of factors in this.
it's a lot of factors. Man. It's a lot, and especially now, like I said, the modern world, abortion is everywhere, man. Abortion is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's absolutely everywhere. Like back then, it probably would. I don't know the statistics of it back then. You could look it up if you want to look it up, Josh. You can. I don't really mind, but
I mean,
I don't know the statistic from back then. But like now, I'm for sure it's
Dude.
way more up, bro.
dude.
Yeah, I
and
can check that real quick.
yeah, I mean, before Roe v. Wade, it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, it wasn't.
To
no one
have
thought,
an-
I can kill my baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, I don't know if you know this, Josh. I think I told you this. Roe v. Wade. Her name wasn't really. I think she went as Joe Wade. Roe
Yeah, it
or
was just
whatever.
like
It was a fake name.
yeah.
But the trial went for so long that she ended up having the baby, and then she gave up the baby for adoption. And then after the trial, which she won, she converted to she converted to being a Catholic, and then she
became pro-life.
Became pro-life, and she even said that
It was a mistake.
like that trial,
It was
that
a
Roe v.
mistake.
Wade thing was the worst mistake she's ever made. It was the worst mistake she ever made.
Yeah.
But thankfully she redeemed herself by becoming pro-life and becoming, Catholic. But like,
And there's like feminists out there that say that, I mean, it's just a complete. So there's no consequences for anyone. I mean, except for the kid who has to die for,
yeah. And the thing is, feminists are all about women, but then they don't realize that a whole bunch of women have died because of abortion.
Yeah, because of
So,
infection and infertility problems and all of that. Like,
Right,
it's,
especially how people were grading after.
yeah, exactly. And like,
that leads to suicide and everything. So
yeah,
it's
because
just a
it's messed.
disgusting thing.
It's a messed up process because
it is a messed up.
there's
It's
like
disgusting.
there's like 3 different ways you can go through with it, and there's one way where you like take a pill, and the baby basically is aborted inside your own bathroom. Like
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
So
And then you have the freaking like the tube.
yeah, the tube one where
Oh,
they basically
disgusting.
they poke around in there. I mean, depending on what stage the baby is at.
Yeah. It's
Like
crazy,
for earlier it's the tube. For later it's either they're
I
injecting
don't like the-
poison or like salts or whatever burns the baby, and inside the uterus it kills the baby and they basically rip it out. There's
Yeah,
the
that's
one with the giant forks where they basically just blindly poke inside the uterus and then they pull, and then like an
they
arm
pull the
comes
baby
out.
They pull the baby out.
No, in
Oh my
chunks.
God,
In chunks. They don't even.
chunks. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and there's like ultrasound video of like when they put in the tube into the uterus, that the baby will start like trying to kick away from it. Like it'll try to
Exactly.
avoid getting sucked into the tube. So
It's alive. The baby's alive.
So-
He
Exactly.
or her is alive. Like just because the baby is inside a womb doesn't mean it's not alive. Like the thing is, it's so crazy because these are the same women that don't want to see a little puppy die,
yeah.
but then they don't mind a human baby dying, which doesn't register in my mind. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it's just so unmoral, man. Like I just
And at the end of the day, it's satanic.
yeah, it's disgusting.
It's satanic.
It's disgusting.
And like the pitchfork is kind of like symbolism right there.
Yeah.
Wait, which one? Wait, are you looking at
The
like?
pitchfork.
Like like the riots and stuff, Danny.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about, Pittsburgh? but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. The entire situation is messed up. By any chance, if anyone who has suffered through an abortion and who's, dealing with it right now, and who made the mistake of going through an abortion, Father Larry Richards, I heard a talk from him like 2 weeks ago regarding it, and he basically goes through the entire process of how to pray for your baby, to name it, and to ask for forgiveness, because the baby is like constantly praying for you to remember it and to like pray for it, because it's in heaven waiting for you to pray for it, and then it will
It's
forgive
so
you.
sad. Oh my goodness.
Because
That's so
I mean, Josh, I don't know if you saw the data, but like the
Oh yeah, the abortion.
yeah,
Yeah, it says right here it's increased in like the 1980s, but it's actually decreasing now.
yeah.
Okay.
As people started to see all the
Like
Alright, it's
yeah,
messed
that's
up
how I realized.
stuff, and there's like doctors out there that, I mean, they have to do this where they stored like the body parts to make sure that like they got everything, but there's like just doctors that put them in like bags and stuff like that, like like they just leave them out or whatever.
Actually,
It's just-
let me actually tell you the story of what I heard when I was before I went on the Respect Life March in Washington. We had to go to this little retreat, and they showed us a video of this lady that was. So let me tell you what she said. When she got into the clinic, there was a whole bunch of Catholic people there praying, right in front of the Planned Parenthood. A lady walked out with a black coat or whatever.
Mhm.
Put the woman under the coat and pushed her inside the clinic, right?
Mhm.
And that just tells you right there, why are they hiding if it's right, if it's just,
Yeah.
why are they hiding? And then she tells in the video, she tells us that she goes inside the the room, the doctor room.
Mhm.
The doctor comes in there, doesn't say a single word to her, does not talk to her, starts grabbing his tools. He tells her to spread her legs on this kind of chair or whatever,
Mhm.
and he's about to poke in there, and then she's like, "Stop!" And he looks at her, like grunts, puts the tools on the desk, takes off his gloves, walks out, leaves her there.
Yeah.
Nothing. No emotional support. No nothing. Just left in the cold. She cried and she left the thing.
Yeah.
She left the thing, and she left out completely embarrassed. The Catholic protesters thought she did it, so they were like trying Hail Marys or whatever,
Mhm.
and she left. But she still had the baby, so she still had the baby, which is great. she put the baby up for adoption, and that's pretty much the whole story of like she made this choice that was, so much better. She knew that she wasn't ready to have a child.
Yeah.
But she also knew it wasn't. She had something was telling her, "Hey, don't kill that child.
Yeah.
Don't kill it. It's not worth it." So, it's just like, why would they cover the woman right before she goes into the clinic if it's so moral and so just, and if it's for the woman's body, my body, my choice, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? And then why would the doctor come in there and kind of like be kind of cold, and not show any remorse, not show anything, kind of just leave her in the dust? It's just the whole situation when she was saying in the video seems so disgusting.
Yeah.
That's what it's just disgusting.
I mean, if you think about it, pro-life is really pro-choice because you have adoption, and but if you're pro-choice, you're pro-death because there's really only one option in that one.
So,
But Planned Parenthood in general is really sketchy. I mean, it's not even sketchy. It's just, again, it's satanic in how they operate. Margaret Sanger, which is the creator of Planned Parenthood, she ran with the KKK at some points, and she had connections with the KKK, and they purposefully put Planned Parenthoods in specific locations in poor black neighborhoods and in minority neighborhoods. So it's kind of like this mass extinction project under the radar.
From the KKK.
Yeah, from Margaret Sanger. She basically supported the KKK. So
That
like,
is- wow.
and like, people just don't realize it.
No, of course not. They don't look into anything. Especially young people now. They don't look into anything. They just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to not go by what the media says. I mean, you look at the coronavirus, it's like, yeah, it's important not to get other people sick, like
Especially
the
older
elderly,
people.
because, they actually have, like, a higher risk with it. But, like, don't freak out. Don't, like, stall out stores and take all the toilet paper and the water and stuff. Calm down.
No, people think it's a hurricane right now. And
Yeah,
it's just like,
crazy.
obviously, you've met her, Josh. When you came to my house for Halloween, the old lady that's my neighbor, she lives right next. I haven't talked to her at all. I've been staying away from her. The reason for this is she's about to turn 89. I don't think in my right mind would I want her to get sick, because that's just, why would I want that?
Yeah.
So we've just been staying away from her. Everyone else has been hanging out, but we don't want older people to get sick. That's the big risk of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
If you're sick, if you're older, or let's say you do have a pre-existing medical condition, then you hopefully you don't get it. So obviously you have to still be safe. Like if I get it, that pretty much means my sister gets it, my mom gets it, my dad gets it.
Yeah, it spreads.
So it spreads. So you still have to be careful. We're not saying not to be careful, but also don't you take a step back and breathe a little bit. Breathe and
calm down, guys.
everything will get sorted out. It's just we're not like Italy right now. Italy right now is a ghost town. It's a ghost town. So we just gotta take a step back and like I said, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah, I was about to circle it back to the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I don't know if you guys have watched Little Shop of Horrors.
No.
We don't know what that is.
Do you know a movie that has a giant plant that sings?
Nope.
Okay, so I basically watched it today for theater class at my school, at my college, and basically what the movie was about, it was about this this nerdy guy. He has no parents. He doesn't have a good job. His boss is always screaming at him. The girl he likes is with an abusive boyfriend. His life's trash. He finds this random plant that comes from outer space, so out of this world, this plant is, and he stabs himself with thorns from a rose, and the plant, tastes his blood and So basically, the entire movie, in my eyes, was a pact with the devil. So basically, he makes this deal with this plant that starts talking eventually towards the midway point of the movie, and he starts killing people to feed this plant. So the store keeps on growing, and he keeps on getting money. He eventually gets the girl that he wants by doing some messed up stuff. And eventually it comes all crashing down because from under the weight of his own wrongdoing, the plant ends up eating him at the end in the director's cut. But after theater test screenings, the people didn't like the fact that the plants overtook the entire planet and killed everyone. So they basically changed the ending so the main character didn't have any consequences. He basically got away with, killing people and cutting them up and feeding this plant. And he basically married the girl of his dreams, and he went on to live a happy and wonderful life. So in my, how I connect this movie with our present day is that, a normal person not really thinking about doing anything wrong. And then this out-of-world creature, so in our world, it wouldn't be a talking plant, but it would be demonic spiritual entities that have refused to follow God, and that's why they mess with us, because he cares and loves for us so much, and that's why we get temptations and all of that. They come to us and tell us that they can give us the entire world, because they basically run the world to what God lets them run it at. So we fall to certain temptations and we sin, and eventually the consequences of our own sin affects other people. And in the test screenings, you could clearly see that people don't like the consequences that, we have to face for our actions, whether good or bad. And, it just goes to show that just like smoking, you don't have to be the one smoking, but if you're sitting next to someone, which we're bound to be in our climate where everyone is a sinner and everyone's imperfect, we're all bound to smell like smoke from one another or from ourselves, basically smoking. So, that's what I connected to from the movie. So I would recommend the movie because I don't know, it's pretty funny. Little Shop of Horrors, yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, the plant turns into a black guy and starts singing. So yeah, I basically connect and the plant starts spawning and taking over the country and whatever. Okay. And so yeah, that's what I connected to.
All right.
Okay.
So
yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other
yeah.
Whatever.
What do you got to say, Josh?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I keep losing Wi-Fi. Alright, I think I'm good now.
Alright. We're waiting for you, Josh.
Oh, yeah, we're waiting for you.
Oh, you wait for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm done. I got nothing.
Oh, all right.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm gonna leave it with this. What we really pretty much talked about today was, what the Bible means to us, and what the Catholic faith means to us, and what's morally good.
We just talked about a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. It's a big bunch of stuff, and we, today it was really good. It was really good. I don't know how long this was, so I think we should cut it off.
Yeah.
But, let's end it in prayer, of course.
All right.
As we always do. So let's start it off with Our Father, and we'll go from the Hail Mary to the Word. All right. So in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses,
as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son,
to the Son,
and to the Holy Spirit, as it was
as
in
it was
the
in the
beginning,
beginning,
now
as
and
it
ever
shall
shall
be,
be, or without
world
end.
without
Amen.
end. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, in the name of the Father, Son, and the
Father,
Holy
Son,
Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
Okay,
Amen.
so that was
Alright.
episode number 6.
6.
Hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yes.
Leave any comments, questions, or concerns regarding parental support if you guys want to help out or have any ideas or topics that you want us to talk about.
Yes.
Spread it, share it, subscribe,
Subscribe, please.
like
Hit
it,
that,
dislike
hit
it.
that notification bell.
Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah. Like it,
YouTube's kinda
dislike it.
weird. Like it, spread it on.
Yeah, like it, dislike it, whatever you want to do.
Whatever you
want
wanna
to feel
do.
like. Just do
Alright.
something, please. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so.
We need more than 7 views.
Okay. See it.
Alright, see you guys later.